Hi, hello, it's Leilani from the Bible in 1 Year. We are reading Psalm 42 today. Now, this is a psalm sung by the sons of Korah, and they were the Levites who served as musicians in the temple worship. And this is a psalm we often sing as children of God. But if we are completely honest with ourselves, there have been days or even seasons where, although we are spiritually strong, we have felt exactly like the person in this Psalms, where we feel depressed, downcast, hopeless, or desperate. Where the days come where we feel so emotional and you can't stop crying, or when you feel like you are drowning as life hits you wave after wave in a storm. Or when you as a believer might go through an illness and people begin to confront you with questions like, where is your God whom you worship so much? Why doesn't he just heal you? Now today, this psalm comes to teach us and give us guidance on what to do when we as children of God go through such a day or even seasons. Firstly, we see that the person's soul longed for God. And this is where the song comes in, because it says that as the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When can I go and meet with God? He considered fellowship with God as an utmost necessity, regardless of how he felt physically or emotionally. He never gave up spiritually. He held on to the hope that is in God and continued to praise and worship him. Secondly, he addressed his soul and began to preach to himself. Several times in this psalm, he talks to himself and asks, "Why are you downcast, O my soul? Why so disturbed within me?" Now, when we go through those emotions, it is sometimes necessary to stand before the mirror and talk to yourself out loud, to remind yourself who the Father is to you and that he is your rock, that you are capable of all things through the Lord who gives you strength. And tell yourself, what am I feeling or going through right now? It's not pleasant, but I continue to hope and trust in God. Thirdly, we see that during this time, he focused his thoughts on divine things. He thought about God. He remembered that God is his firm foundation, his rock on which he stands. He remembered the Lord's loving kindness and that his song is with him in the night. He remembered God's people. He remembered what it was like to worship the Lord together at the temple. Now, we as humans are created for fellowship. It is important that when we feel down, we do not withdraw from the church and the people and the fellowship with the people, because fellowship is important to keep our soul and spirit healthy. I believe we can all remember the impact that COVID-19 had on us when we were not allowed to gather to worship the Lord together as a church. And fourthly, we see in verse 7 that he speaks to the Lord because he knows that the Lord is his rock, and because he has a relationship with the Lord, he has the boldness to pray to the Lord and say, "Lord, I know that you are my rock and that the Holy Spirit is in me. But today my soul is downcasted within me and I just can't stop crying and I feel so discouraged. It feels as if you have forgotten me. Lord, I ask that you help me because my soul thirsts for you, the living God." I know there are days or seasons where we may feel too weak or too sad to follow any of these advice, when we have a deep-seated yearning for the Father and thirst for the Lord's closeness, but we just don't have the words to pray. Then I want to close with the encouraging words of Paul in Romans 8:25 and 27. "But if we hope for what we do not see. We wait for it with patience. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weaknesses, for we do not know what to pray for as we ought, but the Spirit Himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. And He who searches hearts knows what is in the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God. And in Matthew 11, Jesus invites each of us today to come to Him, all who labor and are heavy laden, and He will give you rest. He says, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." I want to thank you for listening to me. Until we read together again next week, be blessed and goodbye.